So that sucks, right? One moment you're fiddling around in the lab thinking about dinner plans. Next thing you're sucked into a liquefied rock and dumped out onto an alien planet on the other side of the galaxy. What's a girl to do? Well, if you're Jemma Simmons, you stay alive. However you can, for as long as you can. Because if you ain't gonna find a way out, Fitz is gonna find a way to get to you. It's the 6 months that Jemma Simmons was missing on an alien world. On this week's Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. Season 3, Episode 5. 4,722 hours. Now, there are spoilers ahead, just so you know. You've been warned. Continue on. If you haven't seen the episode, it's your own fault. So with this episode, we find out what has happened to Jemma Simmons in the 6 months that she was missing. And it is a very different episode from the standout of Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. is generally a very ensemble cast experience. A lot of things going on, a lot of characters interplaying. In this episode, we are only focusing on Jemma. Jemma alone on an alien planet. So it's really just about her. And of course, eventually Will, the astronaut that she runs into on the planet as well. But still, even focused down to just the two characters interacting through the entire episode is really a different turn for Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. and kind of a nice one. This focuses on Elizabeth Henstridge's abilities as an actor to convey the wide range of emotions of what Jemma is going through, from the initial reluctance to accept her position, to branching out, to hunting, the highs, the lows, the emotional toil that's on her, and she performs beautifully. Really an amazingly talented actor who is just really allowing this character to step into her own. It's also a nice evolution for this character, who, when we first ran into her in Season 1, was very much stuck in the lab, very dependent on Fitz, very much just in that little world and very uncomfortable outside of it. Last season, as she was infiltrating Hydra, it allowed her to kind of step out and start to trust herself, and then her attempt to kill Ward and that kind of drive really sparked a certain survival, visceral part of the character, which I think was really important for her survival on this planet. She was, I think, able to adapt the change to being in an unfamiliar situation and to flourish within it. I think is a nice. It's a nice blend. It's a nice movement, nice arc of the character from the beginning, from the Eternal to now. Being kind of a survivalist. Able to survive on her own in an alien world. Oh, but I do want one of Fitz's cell phone batteries. Those seem to last forever. Give me one of those. Mine is dead after the end of the day. So, where do I sign up? So, all being told, a nice episode, but I thought there was a lot of story opportunities that were really missed, and I thought a lot of the clues that were given, the intensity of the experience that Jemma was responding to once she had returned, sort of PTSD, sensitivity to sound, uncomfortable being around other people, really, to me, implied a different arc of events than what ended up happening in this story. Yes, she was alone for a while, and certainly survival is stressful, and trying to hunt for food and facing down the monster in the water. That was all great. But in some ways also things seemed kind of easy. The water was easily drinkable. The monster you could eat, there wasn't seem to be any poisoned food. She was able to start a fire before we were able to see those kind of bamboo-like reeds popping out. So I was kind of pulled back with, this appears to be a desolate desert planet. Where are you getting the wood from? And that was just kind of jarring for me from a standpoint. The introduction of an American astronaut, yes, it solves language problems, but there's kind of an arc that just seems very, okay, an American astronaut, that seems a very easy story choice. But we hadn't heard anything before. Fitz had done a whole arc of researching this and studying where this came from, and they had to go to an Asgardian to try and get some answers about what this was. And apparently 14 years ago, NASA knew all about it and was sending astronauts through. Were they able to time it out? Were they just have a crew standing by waiting to randomly open up, since they didn't seem to know the pattern upon which this operated with? These were a lot of questions that just immediately popped up into my mind as the story was going on. Also, now we have a love triangle going on between Will and Jemma and Fitz. You know, we waited through season 1 until finally Fitz expressed himself, but then the whole thing happened with Ward and the brain damage and Jemma going off for Hydra for a while, and then coming back and that sort of difficulties. You know, then they finally got together, and now there's something else that's thrown in to push apart. I know from a drama standpoint, we like to keep things separated. We like to do that. I certainly think the trauma of a transplanetary dimensional portal shift, I think that was kind of enough. But, you know, and I do like the fact that she has to go back, that there is someone else out there. I mean, it adds a very personal sense. But there just wasn't really a sense of danger while she was on the planet, to be perfectly honest. I mean, outside of the initial search for food and water, you know, and again, thankfully, nothing seems to be poisonous on the planet. Once she ran into Will, it was all very easy. Even the monster ended up being kind of sad. I mean, it's like, look out! There's a guy in an astronaut outfit in the wind, and he's got a small sword! For those of you that don't know, the small sword, also known as the épée de combat, is a triangular-shaped bladed thrusting weapon used for dueling and dress. It was popular starting in the court of Louis XIV and continued on through the early part of the 1800s. So again, just not really a scary creature. I don't understand the hunt. I don't understand he can smell blood, but he also knows intentions. But for the most part, he doesn't bother you unless you happen to go into these areas. But you can outrun him or just hide and he'll walk past you. Or it's not just a very frightening sort of planetary nemesis. Certainly not something that's going to convey the type of traumatic response that Jemma experienced out. And maybe it was a change just from planetary differences, the oxygen levels and the sounds and gravity and things like that. But she didn't experience anything like that when she got to the planet. So that just doesn't really make sense. And I just think it is a cheap tool to use. You could have had prisoners. She could have been tortured there. There could have been a whole race of alien creatures. Why are Inhumans so scared of this? It seems to be able to kill anybody. It's just... There was just a lot of questions that I thought was going to be answered that now just sort of feel left out. So now we're going to have the pursuit of trying to get Will back, who personally I also don't trust. I'm sorry, that's me. I think he and the alien and the evil entity have some sort of connection. But hey, what do I know? Anyway, I'm just a little disappointed with this episode. I mean... Elizabeth Henstridge did a great job with what she was given. I just thought that the opportunities for storytelling and for breadth really were missed out. And it kind of bums me out. Now, of course, Fitz is, you know, he doesn't even have to say anything. He just runs and he's like, all right, this is what we got to do. We got to get it back. You should talk to me about this first. Boom, let's do it. Because that's the type of character that he is, and then we're going to have the tension back and forth of who does she prefer with, what's going to happen with that. It's just... it's cheap drama. And the show has really done a great job in storytelling and character development, and I thought that they had a lot more places they could have gone with it. I expected a little bit more. They're going to do a great job. They got a great cast. I just really had expected something a little bit more, you know, a little more exciting, a little more dangerous, you know, a little more fearful. But next week we've got a whole new episode, and May is pissed. I guess I was wrong about Andrew. He seems to be dead. So, what's going to happen with that? We will find out next week. Hopefully I will be much happier with that episode, but we will find out right here. Press like if you enjoyed my rant of the day. Feel free to subscribe. Comments in the section below. Did you like what I have to say? Am I completely wrong? Let me know. What do you think? Follow me on Twitter. I'm at Darren Jakes. I'm all done. You guys have a great week. I will see you then. Take it easy.